welcome to today's Facebook Live. I am with Rebecca Newenham and Kristy Roff, both from Get Ahead. Get Ahead are one of Flexible Working People's partners. We've been working together for a few years now. And I am almost as passionate about Get Ahead as Rebecca is and Kristy. We've had some of our Flexible Working People members join the Get Ahead franchise. It's a phenomenal opportunity. And today we thought, rather than Rebecca and I talk about the opportunity, what would be lovely is to bring in one of the franchisees, Kristy, who has her own franchise with her partner, Suzanne. And Kristy's going to tell her story about what led her to join Get Ahead, what she was doing before, and that journey to becoming a franchisee. And I think that will really help people who are kind of in a similar situation, who are in employed roles and thinking about maybe setting up their own business. And I think hearing Kristy tell her story will really help for people to identify. But before we do that, I just thought, Rebecca, it would be a good opportunity for you to sort of just talk a little bit about the Get Ahead franchise,
yes.
What it is and sort of who it's for at a high level, and then we can get into Kristy's story a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And it's lovely to be here with Kristy. Obviously, normally Katie and I rabbit on for ages, and it's nice to actually bring it to life with a real person. So yes, so Get Ahead's been running for 13 years. We've just celebrated our teenager birthday, and I franchised the business 5 years ago. So a classic franchise opportunity looks like a dedicated territory. So Kristy will talk later about where she runs it. But if I look at someone like Fiona, who's been working with us for the longest, Fiona has the Leeds, York and Harrogate territory. She is called a regional director. She goes networking. She finds clients, busy business owners that need support. She finds them, identifies their needs. So that's a lovely way of really getting under the skin of how somebody operates. And then she identifies areas of support that we at Get Ahead can provide, and she taps into we've currently got, I think, 90 virtual experts that are available to Fiona. She uses our skills database, which is a super duper system that helps her identify who's available, what skill set they've got. She matches them with the clients, and happy days. The client's happy, the virtual expert's getting some fantastic work that they might struggle to get on their own, and Fiona project manages that relationship. But what's lovely is it means Fiona can crack on and meet more clients, and it's totally scalable. And I think that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, so I think that that's a really important point that Rebecca's just made. And I think the difference is here, as Rebecca just said, it's about you being able to run your own business rather than be kind of in the thick of it doing the actual work. So you rely on a team of...
Yeah, you're not chained to your desk, you're out and about, and you can support anyone because the team is there to support you. So that's ultimately.
Okay, so thanks for giving that background. Okay, so Kristy, let's bring you in. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on today. It's exciting.
I'm really excited to have you here. I haven't actually heard your story firsthand yet, so I'm excited to hear it myself. So before we start, why don't you just give us a little bit of background into what you were doing before you came across Get Ahead? So what was your career? What were you doing? What did that look like?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's a long journey, really. It's a 22-year journey, I suppose, that led me to Get Ahead. And I think every step of that journey was kind of leading to something. But at that time, I didn't really know what. So after uni, I'll try and keep this brief because I could go on about it for a long time. But after uni, I landed in the world of radio, which I absolutely loved. And it was what I was sort of, my path was kind of taking me down that road anyway. And I worked in radio for nearly 9 years and absolutely lived and breathed it. It was fun. It was, it was varied. It was great for a university leaver to kind of get into something like that. And I climbed the career ladder. So during that journey over the 9 years, I kind of worked my way up and worked myself into quite a senior role, and loved it, lived and breathed it. And then I had my first son nearly 16 years ago. So I'd taken that break on maternity leave. And just before I was returning to work, I'd kind of had that pang of guilt about, well, life's almost turned upside down anyway, because you've got this new little life that you're responsible for, and you don't know whether you're coming or going anyway as a new mum. And I just thought, how can I go back to that career, and how can I do what I was doing before and pulling long hours and working full time, with a young baby, and I just sort of felt a bit of panic. And I'd met Suzanne, who is my business partner now, when we were on maternity leave at a baby group when we both had very young babies, and her role at that point was in corporate HR. So I kind of lent on her experience and went to her for advice and said, you know, how can I make this role that I loved flexible? Is there something that I can do? So she actually helped me put together a flexible working proposal. And unfortunately, it wasn't really something that was too heard of back then. You either worked full-time or you worked part-time. Flexibility didn't really feature. So it was kind of playing on my mind as to how I would return in the same capacity as a new mum with a young baby. And as fate had it, I was actually then made redundant just shortly before I was due to return. So the decision was taken out of my hands, which at the point was quite difficult to swallow, because I'd kind of known that career path for so long, and that was all I wanted to do since going to uni, and I didn't know anything else. And it hit me quite hard, and I really didn't know what the next step for me was. And as fate would have it, and I think fate plays a big part in my whole career journey, really. One of my ex-colleagues introduced me to her other half, who ran a small niche IT consultancy, who were very open-minded in their outlook of supporting kind of professional women that were returning to work, and absolutely encouraged the flexible working, part-time working. And it was at that point that I really had my eyes open to remote working. So I worked for an IT consultancy, which was at that point a stopgap for me. But 11 years later, I was still in it, but I absolutely valued the fact that I could be working from home and in control of my own time, obviously employed. And there was an element of responsibility that came with that. I couldn't just go off and have my hair cut or anything. I was sort of at the desk 9 to 5. I had a second child in that time as well. And, you know, I really valued the flexibility that it gave me to be at home and be there for my kids and be doing the school runs and be balanced, not have a commute and all of that. And I probably worked harder because of it, because you'd fire up the laptop early and then you'd shut it down later at night and you'd go to it in between. So that was great, but it wasn't really floating my boat, if you get me. The world of IT, I was not techie. I worked with a load of techie people that were really, really intelligent, and it was a space that really didn't really inspire me. And it just got to a point where I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And equally, I'd progressed in that role as well, and I'd become quite senior. Our company had been bought out by a larger organisation, and I was feeling the pressure, and I was like, oh, what's the next step? So to cut a long story short, I actually had some health issues that was the catalyst in me making a decision to kind of make a change. And Suzanne and I had kind of talked about our careers and counselled each other through our careers. And she'd set up her own business after being made redundant from corporate HR as a virtual expert. And she was doing really well. And I thought, oh, this is quite interesting. What's this all about? Her role is, she's very operational, whereas I'm a lot more commercial. So we'd kind of talked about, could we blend our skills and do something complementary together? And we'd done our research, and that's when we came across Get Ahead, and we kind of loved everything that Get Ahead was about, and the model, the ethos, what Rebecca had developed and was growing, and we're really excited by it. But never at that point did we think this was.
Can I just interject at that point?
Yeah,
can I just ask you a question, because it's interesting? So you and somebody said, is there a technical hitch? There's no sound.
Oh.
Sam, who can't you hear? Can you just tell us? Can you hear any of us or none of us? Sorry to interrupt, but I've just had a message.
No, that's fine.
There's no point talking, is there, if no one can hear? a morning that's really going well. Hang on a second. Samantha, can you tell us who you can and can't hear? There's few people on. Can anybody else just comment whether you can hear us or there's no sound? Just drop a comment in the comments box if you're listening.
Maybe can't hear
If they can't hear us, then they can't.
They can't hear us and they can't comment, and that could mean why people have dropped off. I don't know what is going on today. What do you think this is, ladies? Do you think it's just not our morning?
I think it's not our morning.
Oh, they can hear.
Oh,
okay.
Sam didn't have her volume up.
Oh,
never mind. Right.
Felicity can hear us all. Hi,
Then?
Felicity. Right. I can hear. Okay, so we've got, so don't worry about the numbers because we've got LinkedIn listeners and Facebook. So it's not an accurate number. I've got a couple of people saying I can hear. Okay, so I was going to, so that's fine. So I was going to interject by saying what would be really interesting to understand is because Suzanne already had her own business. She was already running her own VA business. So why was that decision to join her? Not, well, I'll just join you. I'll look for an opportunity like Get Ahead. What was the thinking there?
I think it was probably fear, actually. Could I make a success of something on my own? And I had the security of a good package. You know, I had that security that you get with employment. I had a good package. I had, my laptop, my phone. I had private health insurance. And, with a young family and a mortgage to pay, and you kind of go, well, I can't take that risk of just letting all of that go. And there was almost a bit of comfort in thinking, well, because Suzanne's been a VA successfully, she'd got to the point, and which we see now with a lot of our clients, is you work with a VA on that growth curve, and actually you get them on their own journey. And she'd done that with her clients, where they were actually to a point where they needed to recruit and employ. So she kind of lent on my experience, my commercial background, marketing background, to say, look, how can I go about attracting new clients? And I'd sort of revisited some of my previous career and done a diploma in digital marketing. And that was an area that I was exploring as well, sort of a bit of a sideline. And I thought, actually, our skills are quite complementary. So let's see if I can help her attract new business. And we'd come up with lots of plans. She had already got an established company name, but we'd already talked about all of the talent out there, because our situation was not unique. My career path and being a young mum with a skilled background and a career was not unique at all. I heard lots of people talking about the same sort of scenario where they had to go back to work and all of a sudden felt like they were abandoning their families. And it was really hard to get that balance right. So I was excited by Suzanne's journey and thought, how can we grow this? How can we make more of it than just being a standalone VA? And that's why when we found Get Ahead, we thought, oh, this is quite interesting. But again, like I was saying, not ever really considered that being an option for us.
Had you ever considered a franchise opportunity, or was that sort of a new thing for you?
No, never considered a franchise opportunity until we saw the opportunity available at Get Ahead, which was on Facebook.
And what were the things about Get Ahead that you thought, actually, that looks interesting? And when you started the conversations, what led you to think, actually, this is for me?
I think it was the variety of services that Get Ahead offer. It wasn't just, I think, having come out of a career in IT, the one thing that was so specific and so niche, that mundane, clients were different, but the process and the solutions were the same. That just didn't offer me much excitement. Whereas my days in radio, I loved it because our clients were so different and everything was solution led and bespoke to the client. And I really liked that about Get Ahead, that the services were so broad and the full spectrum of kind of back office support that was available to clients was really interesting. And you could lean on the expertise amongst those virtual experts that could deliver those services and become, and kind of my role would be to devise bespoke solutions for the clients. So that variety was really, really instrumental.
So you were less interested in doing the work and more interested in running the business and strategizing and being kind of the business leader as opposed to doing. So that's why it really ticked your boxes, because you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, Suzanne was doing the VA stuff, and don't get me wrong, when we started, we did do quite a bit of delivery ourselves, because it played to the skills that we had and it helped us kind of grow. But no, for me, it was more about how can I make a successful business and how can I kind of really scale.
I love this. And Rebecca, I'm just going to bring you in here because is this an unusual model or not? Because I think it's really interesting that Kristy decided to set up with her friend Suzanne, and they both had different skill sets and came from different backgrounds, and they've set up as a partnership.
And I think it's unusual. I mean, it's interesting. I think I couldn't have imagined going into business with anyone else, but it so works for you, Kristy, with Suzanne, and you complement each other perfectly. I've never had any concerns over you not gelling together. You've been very clear, and that has led to your success by you both being able to identify your sweet spots.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd also add in there that I couldn't go into business with many of my friends. I really couldn't, and not to disrespect the relationship that Suzanne and I have, because we are good friends, but we're more business partners than friends.
Yeah.
So we don't hugely socialize together, and you know, we're not constantly on the phone at the weekends and stuff like that. We are.
You've got clear boundaries, haven't you? And I think that's what everyone respects then.
Yeah, and our values are very much aligned, and the reasons why we're doing this are very much aligned, and that's really important. Our drivers are the same.
Yes. Okay, so that's interesting. And are Kristy and Suzanne unique in the Get Ahead world? Are they the only partnership you have, or do you have others?
Yeah, no, they're the only partnership we have. Yeah,
but you were quite
some of the franchisees utilize experts we've got to fulfill roles like social media or admin. So, and we encourage that, and Suzanne and Kristy have also done that. And I think that's the beauty of it. You know, you've got that resource that you yourself can use as well as clients.
Yes, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think what would be interesting for everyone to understand is, so you had the conversation with Rebecca and you both decided to go ahead. What was were there any challenges along the way? How did the business evolve? Like, talk us through kind of what that looked like for you and how quickly you were set up and in business, and the support that you had from Get Ahead that helped you to get there.
Well, it was interesting because we saw the post that the Reading franchise had become available in sort of springtime of 2019. And I think I got on the phone to Suzanne straight away and said, have you seen this? You know, we need to have a chat to Rebecca, which we did pretty much immediately. And it wasn't really something we'd considered. But having explored the conversation with Rebecca, it just was a no-brainer. And it was almost like it was meant to be, because it meant that we could hit the ground running. We had everything that we needed to just go. You know, the branding was in place, the reputation had already been built, there was credibility there. Because we were taking over a region as well, there were some existing clients that we'd be picking up as well. So we could really start
the ground running
from day one. So it kind of seemed, you know, the obvious thing to do. And also we thought if we didn't take the opportunity, then somebody else would, and then we'd be in direct competition, because we really, the sort of our thinking was very aligned to the Get Ahead brand anyway. It was just the obvious thing to do, really.
And you talk about the fact that you've taken over a particular area, which is the Get Ahead way. You know, you take over an area, and do you are all your clients in that location? Is that where you network? Is that where you spend your time nurturing your clients? Like, what does building clients look like for you? Where did that, because obviously you've grown the business since you've taken on with some of the existing clients that were there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get clients that are out of your territory, but you focus your energies on your area. And we evolved it as soon as we took it over, because it was Reading initially, and because we kind of knew the sort of surrounding area, we grew it to Berkshire and North Hampshire. And then more recently, last year, a year ago in November, we took over Surrey as well. So we've grown our geographical patch, if you like, and we do have to focus our energies on our area, because it's just, you know, you have to target your right audience, and that's what we do. But yeah, so we network where we can. It's a big area, so we have to be quite selective about what we do and where we focus our time and our energies, really.
And do you find the Get Ahead brand opens doors for you, kind of maybe opens more doors than if you're on your own? How does that work? How do do you feel that having that sort of kudos and the brand and the support has helped you to grow the business faster?
Yeah, I think it's the agency model that's really attractive and sets us apart from just being an individual, because we can offer a real breadth of services, and we can build virtual teams, which is a real bonus over and above an individual working with somebody. So small businesses that are looking to outsource might go to the freelance network, or they might do their research, but they're taking a risk when they kind of engage one of those freelancers. Well, we take that risk away by doing the legwork for them and helping them to fine tune the resource that they need.
Yeah, I mean, it's great listening to you, because Rebecca and I have talked about this a lot, actually hearing how it works and hearing from you also how you've scaled it. And actually it's limitless in a way, because you just, you can take on any business from your region, and you've got a team of people with all different areas of expertise that you can outsource to. So you're not limited in any way to X number of hours in a day where you're doing the work. So, you've got that possibility to grow and scale. And it sounds like you're building an empire.
Not quite, but personal empire.
A personal empire, which is amazing.
It's, do you know what the exciting thing about it is that you're making a success for yourself. You're not working all the hours for somebody else's benefit. It's, I feel so proud of what we've achieved in the last 4 years. And that's down to hard work, determination, huge amount of support from Get Ahead and Rebecca and the wider team, to feel like, wow, we actually run a business. This is grown up stuff. It sounds silly, but when 12 years ago, if you'd have said to me, would I be doing this? I'd have said, no, that's too risky. I can't afford to take that risk. But actually, it's just been the best thing ever.
So you've led me really nicely onto affording to take a risk. And I think that lots of people who are thinking about this as an option for them are really interested, obviously, in the financials. And Rebecca never shies away from it. They're always very open. This is what the cost is. This is, this is what you get. This is the return. It's all very transparent, which I love. But it would be interesting to hear from your perspective, sort of how financially that's played out for you. In terms of, your return on investment. Did you split the investment between you? What did that look like? And kind of, are your earnings now, obviously I'm not going to ask you what your earnings are, but do they sort of match kind of similarity where you were, or what does that look like? You tell us in your own words.
Yeah, so first point there is that, yes, Suzanne and I went into this 50-50 straight away. So we split the investment straight away, and everything that we do is straight down the middle. And in some respects, doing it as a partnership is more challenging, because we do have to half everything. I'd probably be a lot more better off if I didn't. Don't tell her that.
Hopefully she's not watching.
But no, I think, we spread the risk as in the same way, and we see it as a luxury that there are two of us, because if for any reason I'm unwell, or she's busy, or the kids are unwell, we've got each other's back and we can support each other, which is a huge benefit. But in terms of, for me, numbers are important. Of course they are. I have the luxury of having a husband with a very stable job that is he's the breadwinner. So for me, the value that I get out of it, as well as an income, is the freedom of control over my own time and my own workload. That's hugely important. The business is running really successfully. We paid both of ourselves a salary in the first month of operating, and that's continued. We pay ourselves dividends now, so we take basic salaries. So we always kind of investing back in the business and then reap the rewards at the end of the financial year. So I haven't looked back. I'm not getting the benefits that I was working for corporate world, but I didn't expect to straight away either. So
and do you still lean on sort of the broader team at Get Ahead, or now you're 4 years on, are you sort of more independent? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've reached that point where our business has grown so so much that we've had to lean on the team to get that scale, to kind of scale with us. So yeah, we use a number of the team members to help us run our social media. So we use somebody to help us with client nurturing and relationship management, because we've got so many clients. It's really hard for Suzanne and I to kind of service them all and provide that quality of service. So we use the team to support that effort as well. And obviously there's, we have designers that we lean on if we need some collateral producing for an event that we might be running. So yeah, we absolutely use the team as and when we need to. And that's
I just want to touch on networking before we finish.
Yeah.
But in terms of networking, what sort of percentage of time do you spend sort of out face to face now, and versus like what does networking look like to you? Because I think that's another thing that sort of people worry about, how to get clients. So it'd be really good to hear from you what that looks like.
And to be fair, I was probably quite worried about that when I started, because Rebecca had always said, you've got to network. It's a really good way to get out there and meet people in the local business community. And it's key to it. But I think it's about trying what works for you in your area. We have lots of fantastic networking groups around us, and some are free, some are paid for, some are memberships, some are weekly, some are fortnightly, and it's almost like there's too much choice. So I would suggest that anybody who's looking at doing this is to just go to a few and experiment and see what works for you and what personality groups you come across. And you're never going to meet, I say never, that's not correct, but you might not meet your target profile in a networking meeting, but you'll meet champions that will refer you. And those are the relationships that are kind of worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
So
and
yeah.
Where does the majority, sorry, go on.
I
was going to say, where does the majority of your business come from? Is it from networking or from your own sort of network, personal network?
I would say that at the moment, the majority, I would say more than 50% of our work comes through recommendation and referral.
Yeah.
And repeat business. So somebody might try a service with us and they say, well, actually, it works really great. I've got a fantastic PA or an admin support. Actually, I need some help with my website or my social media. So we tend to kind of start with one resource and then scale it with a client. And then usually they recommend and refer us on. So that's great.
Amazing. So it sounds like you've built a brilliant business. It's offering you the flexibility. How's it changed your life? Like, what would you say in terms of kind of what you were doing before versus running this business? How has it changed things for you? And what does flexibility look like? Do you work more hours now, or do you totally flex them? What does your work pattern look like?
I suppose I work kind of a full-time week realistically, but that's down to my choice, and that's the beauty of it. I would say it's flexible control I have now, which I didn't have before. I felt like I had to be online, showing that I was online 9 till 5, whereas now it's like I'm a night owl. If I want to sit there at 11 o'clock and do a couple of proposals, I choose to do that, and nobody else is kind of dictating my time. If I want to go into town and buy some birthday presents because it's my friend's birthday, I can do that because it's under my control. Sound like a control freak, don't I? But it's just
no,
really
that's why people do what they do. That's why we set up our own businesses. It's to take back the control and create the work pattern that works for you. It's just called being a grown-up, I think.
Yeah, and it's about not having to be answerable to anybody else as well, and sort of getting that permission, which is really important. And, like I said, my previous bosses were fantastic and very open to the fact that I had a family, but equally, I felt that element of pressure to be available to them when they needed me. Whereas actually now it's like, I can dictate my own agenda, and that's great. And I put the hard work in because I know it's for my own success
100%.
and the success of the business.
And you're building something for you, and you're your own boss, and you have no one to answer to. It's just the pleasure of running your own business. So thank you for sharing your story. I think that's going to resonate with so many people. Rebecca, it would be good just to hear from you, just as we, complete and you come to the end of this. Just, Kristy's like a brilliant example of a franchisee. When you're meeting people like Kristy and others, what are you looking for in franchisees? What would
clone a Kristy, please?
How would you clone a Kristy? What are the qualities and skills?
I want to say Kristy is extremely modest. She and Suzanne are both finalists in the British Franchise Awards in November, and you know she wouldn't be one of 5 if she hadn't created such an awesome business. So big up to you, Kristy and Suzanne. Yes, I'm looking for, as Kristy's described, generally someone from a corporate environment who has got that itch they want scratching, that possibly always thought there was more to life than being chained to a desk somewhere. Someone that's naturally a strong communicator, interested in others as well, because we're all about, and we did a hot topic in our last monthly franchise call around being curious and asking questions, but actually listening to the answers. I want people like that feel comfortable networking. But I'd also say that I work very closely with prospect franchisees to identify areas that they might need support on, whether it's public speaking, LinkedIn, different things like that. So I offer a very bespoke induction for somebody joining us. So I don't expect everyone to come from exactly the same mold, but we want people that fit our values and get the benefits of being their own boss.
Yeah, and I think it's also important. Sorry, Kristy. I think it's also important to say that this opportunity's got to be right for you and for the franchisee. It's a partnership. It's not.
Hugely,
you don't just go out and sell franchises to anybody who wants them.
And I will be open to say, and I say on any conversation, we've had a couple that naturally haven't worked out, and generally it's been because somebody hasn't quite been the right fit. And I've learned over the last 5 years of exactly the profile.
Exactly.
It's so important to meet face to face, I would say, as well, because you need to see each other.
Yeah, I would just add to that as well that it's, even though you're running your own business, and Rebecca gives you full autonomy to run your own business, so you can, you are in control of your franchise. It's hugely supportive to be part of Get Ahead because you feel like you're part of a bigger team. And we do have monthly calls with the other regional directors. We've got, Facebook groups, we've got communication channels, we've got like an intranet board that we use. So you feel like you're working for a bigger team. So you don't feel isolated whatsoever, but you can just, you're in control of your own destiny, which is great. It's like perfect balance.
And it's non-competitive as well, isn't it, Kristy? Exactly that. You feel you're in a safe space to ask questions. And if you were running something totally on your own, who would you ask? And I think that's hugely valuable.
Yeah,
I mean, I totally get that. And running my own business, I totally feel that. So it's, because I work on my own, and, to have that sort of community and the support and the network and all of that sounds incredible. Listen, we're running out of time, but I just want to ask a quick question, because one of the LinkedIn viewers has asked, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you guys answer. Can the franchise be started alongside a job or an existing business?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a couple of our franchisees run other things alongside what they're doing. I just need somebody that is available, obviously prompt in responding to things, but available, like Kristy said, to do the odd sort of weekly networking or something like that. But no, totally up for a blended approach if they're the right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to get into the details now of how much it costs and what it is and so on. I'm going to leave it with, we've heard Kristy's story. We hope that it's inspired some of you who have been contemplating setting up your own business, and maybe engaged you enough to have a conversation with Rebecca or with Kristy. I'm sure you can reach out to either to have a conversation about whether Get Ahead could be the right opportunity for you, if it's something that, has sparked your interest, to get all the support and so on. I mean, setting up a business is so challenging. So to have kind of a business in a box where it's sort of a tried and tested model, is very reassuring for any potential business owner. So I would say have a chat with Rebecca, and get to understand a little bit more about it. And I'm sure Kristy would be more than happy to talk to anybody who's interested. So you can connect with either of these lovely ladies through their LinkedIn, through the group. So we've got people watching, but in both. So get in touch with Rebecca. We'll make all the details available. And thank you both so much for joining. I'm so sorry that we started this a few minutes late. The tech gremlins were definitely against me this morning, but thank you for a brilliant session. This will also be watched on replay. So for anyone watching this on replay later, because a lot of people can't join live, thanks for bearing with us. We hope that you enjoyed the session, and please do get in touch with Rebecca or Kristy if you have any questions. So have a great day, everybody. And thanks, ladies, for joining.
Oh, thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Bye.